All right. Welcome everyone to the Connector Series webinar for this quarter. I'm Amanda Green, the Associate Project Manager with CFIC. Some of you may be familiar with CFIC, but for those of you who are not as familiar, CFIC stands for the Cyber Fusion Innovation Center, and we are a 501c3 organization that is part of the DefenseWorks company. Some of you may recognize our sister hubs such as SoftWorks, ErticWorks, and HSWorks. CIVIC specifically is partnered with Arctic, which is the Army Cyber Technology and Innovation Center located in downtown Augusta, Georgia. Arctic is a data-centric laboratory focused on innovation and future cyber capabilities for the Army. It's part of the larger Army Cyber Command, or RCyber, which has its headquarters at Fort Gordon in Augusta. A few housekeeping notes. As you've noticed, we are recording this webinar. CIVIC will post the recording on our website, cyberfic.org, within about 24 to 48 hours. Questions are welcomed and encouraged to be added to the MS Teams chat here. If there's anything that pops up, I will interrupt our speaker and we can talk about those at the time, but hopefully we'll also have a few minutes at the end for Q&A if there are questions that don't get answered during the webinar. Please do keep your mics muted and your cameras off to reduce any disruptions during the recording. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to our speaker to introduce himself and get us started.
Thank you, Amanda. So I am Sean McGregor, your speaker today. I wear a variety of hats that are going to inform the presentation as I step through it. So I'm not actually going to do a full introduction on that. And let me just kick it off and talk about the topic of the day, which is track and field. Or at least it is an illustrative example. Here's a picture I took when at the Olympic trials in 2012. And as a track runner in my formative days, one of the somewhat entertaining things you would see is when someone that is not from track and field actually entered into the track or the field. And you have this very high context culture of knowledge on where you can stand and where you can't stand. And it's something that you have is when a person's crossing the track, if they don't know which direction to look and what to watch out for, a group of runners can come around and will shout at the person that in the track, and it's their job to hop out of the way. Otherwise, they'll get steamrolled by the runners who are trying to hit their marks. And this is an instance where there's a culture to this space. There's an sometimes unspoken, sometimes unwritten culture that you need to learn in order to actually safely move through that space. And it's not the only culture of that nature. This is a picture out of my apartment window here in Boston, and a great view except for the construction site down below. And it's a fascinating thing watching this and just having a sense of this is another form of track, that there's these conventions around safety that only because people really know where they can be and what they can do, it's a safe environment. Otherwise, it's profoundly dangerous that there's these heavy objects getting moved around with a lot of torque. And it's a constantly dynamic environment that I'm sure if you're showing up to a work site, you just stand out and are going to get yelled at. And you have these conventions of, instead of something yelling track, you have the backing sound of a vehicle that might be moving towards you. Then coming to the actual title for this presentation, the range is hot. This is another declaration that if you are not familiar with a shooting range is quite important to know that a space that was formerly safe and you could fuss around with the targets in the range, it's no longer safe, and you need to be behind the shooting line. The pictures you have on the right and the center there, that's from when I was at this shooting range in a rural area, wandering around collecting audio files of gunshot data to help do audio event detection. And this is one where you really don't want to uh, be downrange when you're collecting it, so you have to figure out how you construct a array of microphones that is representative of what you might hear out in the wild for during gunshots. And so my hope through this presentation is that you come to learn that there is a culture around deployment of AI, that there's a culture of this intelligent system that's being deployed, and that's not really until you um, understand that culture, which itself is dynamically being created, and we're figuring out a lot of the scientific and cultural prerequisites. Um, you're not going to be safe. Your organization is not going to be safe. The society is not going to be safe. That there's a lot of work that's necessary to get done here, and it's really getting to the point where you have this cultural awareness that you don't even necessarily need to think about it. You know what's a good idea and what isn't. 99% of who you are is invisible and untouchable. And in the case of AI, those untouchable things, those elements of culture are the things that making us successful in our programs and keeping us safe. So our job today is to make a little bit more of AI visible, or at least when there's likely to be a problem, to step into that. And we are living in an environment that is increasingly augmented with AI systems, that we are bringing it more into our everyday lives. And we are also bringing it in to our work lives, and it is being used in the defense industry at increasing scale and deployments. And we really need to figure out what this culture around deployments looks like. And until we do, we are, putting people in the line of fire, and we need to work to establish the culture. And this is where I'm going to be covering three elements of culture from three different hats that I wear. And I'll introduce each of these in turn, but I'll start with the weird one on the far right, which was one that I got after generating a bunch of different hat pictures. And as I slowly morphed into looking more and more like a different person. And this is a great example of where AI often surprises you. And it's something that incident databasing is actually quite a um, useful approach. And I'm going to start by way of example on this, and I'm going to go back now 9 years to one of the then most famous AI incidents, and this is where Microsoft, in their research capacity, deployed a chatbot onto Twitter, then Twitter. The system was an adaptive one. It responded to the community that was on Twitter, and through time, it started changing its distribution of outputs until, in the case of this sensationalized article headline, Microsoft had to delete its quote teen girl AI after it became a Hitler-loving sex robot within 24 hours. Um, well, you know, surely we will have learned better from this. There's that was pretty sensational. A lot of people in the community knew about it, know about it. So that's good. It won't happen again. But of course, January 2021, South Korean AI chatbot pulled from Facebook after hate speech towards minorities. Many of the same causative factors involved in it. That was probably the last time, though. There's some pretty big cultural and linguistic differences between that English Twitter context and the Korean context there. So that was probably the last time, but of course it wasn't. Uh, July 2025, something exhibiting many of the same signs or some of the same causative factors exposed to, in this case, X, as Twitter no longer existed. And this is where Grok started indicating that it was Mecha Hitler and had a number of oddities that came about. So why did this happen? Well, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana from The Life of Reason. Uh, if you want to go about preventing these things from happening again, you actually, at the very least, table stakes should be starting with understanding how things can go wrong and adaptively working to prevent it from happening again in the future. What is a good example of culture of making this happen? The AI incident database actually originates as inspired by the aviation sector, among other similar reference points. And in aviation, the number of fatalities per revenue passenger kilometer it's almost at the y-axis or the x-axis. It's functionally zero. People do die, but a great many people are traveling by air. And it is a rarity and a news item every time that people do die flying. So in aviation, you have accident and incident databases. When a plane crashes, it is the entire industrial sector's responsibility to figure out why it happened and to work to make sure it does not happen again, at least with the same reasons. And this is a modality that exists outside of aviation as well. You have it in computer security with the CVE program. You have it in food and drug. You have it in production, um, the Consumer Product Safety Commission. It is time and again the starting point of you might not have the imagination for how a system or a product or a plane could go wrong, but you can learn from the instances in which it has. And our curve, though, in the AI space does not actually look like the aviation curve, at least not right now. AI incidents are um, scaling rather rapidly. There's a number of factors and reasons for this. I'll go into some of them, but broadly, the biggest factor on this, I would argue, is that uh, there's just more AI. The plot that I showed from aviation was it was normalized on revenue passenger kilometers. We don't have a miles traveled for AI, but we do know that AI is traveling a lot more miles. And as a result, and with the same safety culture, we are going to get more incidents, more harms. And in order to uh, bend this curve downward, or at least make it less steep, we are going to need to develop culture and very often systems that make it so that we can make our systems and society that has AI safer. And so we need an information architecture is required to make sense of our past, said by Sean McGregor in the presentation, who is not a philosopher of note. Um, uh, and so claims I would make towards the defense sector in relation to incident reporting is that organizations must engage in incident reporting because it's the right thing to do. It protects people. You make better products and uh, safer products, and they are much less likely to be harmed. You should want to do it exclusively for that reason. But wait, there's more. You can also do it because it's the profitable thing to do. It reduces the fear factor associated with the products. That if people have confidence that a deployment of an AI system won't backfire on them, they're much more likely to purchase and use and deploy the system. It's also an enlightened thing to do because looking at how a system can go wrong is excellent signal for an industry that operates fundamentally on data. Most of these systems are now involving, or at least the new emerging ones are involving machine learning in some form or another. Machine learning is based off of processing data. You train the system using data, and incident data is among the most valuable data possible for making a system perform better. It's also the compliant thing to do. There are regulations incoming, and uh, that is necessary, at least from a product requirement side of things. Quickly about the incident database itself. It's available at incidentdatabase.ai. Uh, we have on the call another one of the boxes here. Daniel Atherton was kind enough to join us. He's lead editor on the AI incident database, and then the board members of the organization behind the AI incident database include Patrick Hall, Heather Fraze, and Christian Hammond. And then we have many other collaborators because we um, produced an organization called the Responsible AI Collaborative, which is an independent U.S. Nonprofit formed 4 years into the project lifetime. And we coordinate many individuals, entities, and work towards standardization and have a bunch of work that I'm going to preview. But the most important element of the work is indexing incidents, which we have more than 1,200, more than 5,000 reports. Each one has been reviewed by humans. And proud to say that it's actually these data that is informing a lot of programmatic pipelines or AI systems that are being produced for the purpose of monitoring and supervising of AI systems, that this is an incredibly important data set. Uh, so first thing we do is we are publishing numbered AI incidents. Those are subscribable. You can know when new risks emerge for technology or an entity. You can actually subscribe to specific entities. So if your organization has produced a incident in the past, you can subscribe to it and get an email when a new incident is ingested for it. You can also look at competitors or other organizations that are active in your sector, which is a great way of looking for things that you might need to worry about and fix. So highly recommend subscribing to things that are relevant to your space and deployments. We also translate between all machine translatable languages into English, French, Spanish, and Japanese. And we accept from the machine translatable languages, which at last check was 249, but it's increasing all the time. Uh, the translation is a thing I like to highlight because, as we say in American democracy, that the states are the laboratories of democracy. Very often, different cultural contexts, different locations in the world serve as a laboratory for AI because it will be produced in one data context, evaluated in one data context, deployed in one, um, and then to many or all of them. And that is a very effective stress testing of systems that can be learned across cultural barriers. We have a variety of visualizations and looking at data that have been produced. We also have a flexible taxonomic system that is looking at how you can allow for categorization, classification of incidents that are very often uh, not really amenable to a single classification. When you're talking about intelligence and of the artificial variety that can go wrong, dumb smarts can go wrong in a lot of different ways. And this is where we have a flexible taxonomic system. We are viewed around the world. You can actually see the Japanese localization has been getting a lot of traffic. I think on a per capita basis, we may have more Japanese traffic than anything else at this point. But United States is still the uh, place of greatest traffic that we are receiving into the database. Standards work. I want to mention this particularly because I know a number of people on the call are coming from the computer security world, and incidents are not a new term in computer security. But we do have a new term for AI incident, and this is something that we helped in the production of with the OECD of defining AI incident and AI hazard. You can think broadly. that an AI incident is a bad thing happened, like it's an event that took place, and it involved AI somehow. Like if you the AI contributed to the likelihood of the bad thing happening. Something was harmed. A hazard is a bad thing might happen. This is kind of the incident in waiting, and this is a common feature you see of most incident-based methodology. Of there's usually an event and a risk category of a proto event of sorts. And computer security, you have an exposure and you have a vulnerability is close to the hazard definition. And so we're doing a lot of work in moving towards shared data standards and making it so that incident data is going to be more broadly shareable. Something I want to spend a little bit more time on that front is looking at the definition of incidents and how it relates to more common, at least in this community, definitions of security incidents or computer security incidents. The distinction between these two elements, security and safety, has never been a clear one, even before. But in the space of intelligence systems, very often a failure and that doesn't involve a malevolent actor is actually something that could be subsequently exploited and is thus indicative of there being a weakness or vulnerability into the system. This boundary is very difficult to separate, and the challenge community-wise, and one for which I recommend the security people in the room look at quite deliberately, is are you talking about a space where malicious actors are centered or not? If a malicious actor is involved, you're in computer security, and it's very difficult to look at the external to the computer security frame because the a malicious actor gets a vote, and they're going to make you care about that vulnerability until you patch it or you retrain it or you change the attack surface in all likelihood to make it so that it doesn't have those steep consequences that it did previously. But there is a broader category of AI incidents. And so when you are working and concentrating on security incidents, AI security incidents, put the security word in there because it helps differentiate, are you caring about malicious actors or are you caring about the broader category of AI safety, which includes security? I've been on a lot of calls with there being a lot of arguments about safety versus security, and we need them both. And in many instances, they're the same thing. Moving past my complaints on that front, um, the prerogatives and the task that you are setting yourself about when you're working on security incidents is you're figuring out how to defend something from something or someone else. And then in non-security incidents, you're looking to improve the system and make it so that the incident is less likely to happen in the future. There's a tremendous amount of research in the AI incident space. It's growing all the time. It's associated with many different sub-communities. I'm not going to go into all of these. We don't have time. But one thing I will highlight is work of a few years ago that we put out that was looking at the fact that very often we don't actually have all the information about the incident that we would ideally have. Right now, there's a lot of work underway to figure out monitoring approaches of you've deployed an AI system in the real world. What does monitoring look like? And that's not just monitoring for attackers, but monitoring when the system may be reproducing a past incident. In the context of monitoring, we're going to have a lot more insight into why an incident happened, because you actually contemporaneously collected data about system state and what's happening with the user, and the state of the world, the environment. But right now we don't have as much of that. We only have noisy signal into it. So we actually produced this work that looked at how you could more inductively figure out what likely happened to produce an incident, and use that information to make it less likely. Uh, Another thing that can make it much less likely, and I'm going to come back to that, d dumb intelligence, can enter into all things, and the data associated with it can be universally useful. Excuse me. But can the Einstein database index the entire universe? I, you know, I'd like to say so, but I think the answer is no to that particular question, because there's too much variety in the world and there's too many idiosyncratic data needs in different communities of practice. But what we can do is be the uh, database of first resort and last resort. First resort because we were first out there, and last resort because very often a database does not actually exist to collect and normalize and share the data. And that's why we're active in building the community architecture of AI safety. And that's why you, as people within organizations, should look to develop your own incident databases that are pointed at your own uh, tooling that you're deploying from third-party providers, as well as your own software that you're producing, deploying, selling. This is a data practice that you need to be active within. This is um, the shouting track on the track and field. Um, I'm going to give a few more illustrative examples, and then I'm going to switch over to one of my other hats. Here's incident 382, and I'm giving this incident to really show the importance of sort of scaled monitoring, and a sense of rare events are quite important to address, because in the case of many of these systems, they're deployed and are interacting with people billions of times. And the small effects compound, or can have great impacts on individual people's lives. Because if you, for instance, make a billion people just a little bit more depressed, some number of those people are going to die as a result of that depression. It's just simple risk arithmetic. And that's why when you have a hyperscaled system, you have hyperscaled responsibility and need to deploy effective oversight into the systems. Incident 156 is another one of really, I think this is an example of an incident that shows just how challenging it is, and to get right and to prevent it from ever happening. This is an instance where Amazon was recommending a shopping cart of products, the commonly bought together feature of the site. And here the algorithms, through no intervention of humans, were keying in on uh, chemicals used for um, committing suicide, and additional chemicals that suppress the gag reflex, or the vomit reflex. And that collectively produces a deadly cocktail that the people working at Amazon uh, likely were not thinking about how baskets could be suggested that are so harmful. And that's where incidents are incredibly useful for organizations that are figuring out what risks and things to worry about and to fix, and uh, things that they might say, like, all right, we're not going to suggest this particular item in a basket. The chemicals can be, but not the suppressant. I Final two incidents I'll bring up because I like ending on a fun one or fun ones. Incident 36 was an incident where a woman in China was shamed for jaywalking. But she wasn't jaywalking. It was actually her picture on the side of a bus, and the bus was rolling through the intersection, and the camera that put the billboard shaming the woman didn't actually have something that could segment bus with picture of woman separate from an actual woman walking, jaywalking. So that's an instance of a bus being mistaken for a woman. Incident 171. On the other side of things, this is a traffic camera in the UK where a citation was mailed to a motorist, wherein the license plate KNI 9TER was cited. But the picture actually contained a picture of a woman who was wearing the t-shirt that said knitter, apparently likes knitting, and she had a strap for her purse across her chest that made the first T look a little bit more like a nine. And here's an instance of a car of a woman being mistaken for a car. This is a great illustration of incidents surprise you. And so, knowing different failures and failure modes is quite important for um, preventing things from going wrong and being able to reason about these. So if you do not know what can go wrong, you don't know what will go wrong. And you need to, unfortunately, live in a headspace of, what failure modes exist and reason about them. Uh, why does this keep on happening? Returning to that thematic at the top, though, is safety. This is legitimately very, very hard. It took decades for aviation to get to a place where everyday people can feel safe in flying. And um, anyone telling you otherwise that AI safety is not hard, or that they've solved it, you don't need to worry about anything. They're selling you something. It's on you to understand the context within which you can deploy the system and trust it. And I, I'm going to recommend at this point, unfortunately, that you need to dive into these details, that you need to develop a pretty deep understanding of these systems for the culture of the AI environment and what the system can be deployed within. Because adopting AI solutions is like constituting an HR department for um, uh, the uh, the aliens and Arrival, where they have this uh, kind of deep insight, but it's weird. You don't really understand it. It's powerful, but foreign. And imagine your HR department being tasked with organizing them and deploying them to useful purposes. Have that in your head, and you will go far. Now I'm going to change hats and switch to my lead research engineering role with Avery, and I'm going to be going a little bit deeper into the science of how you can determine what is good or is bad AI, and what situations you can put it in. This is a new nonprofit uh, founded with Miles Brundage, George Balston, Grace Werner, Carly Tryans, and then a few people that will be on the masthead shortly. And the mission of the organization is to make third-party auditing of frontier AI systems effective and universal. Uh, and among the activities focused on is this verification of claims, where if a organization shows up and says, our system is safe for X, Y, and Z, and you don't need to worry about it, it's not going to do bioterrorism or all these other terrible things, how would you go about verifying that is the case? That is something of great social and market interest. The problem that we have here, though, is the claims that are being made very often are uh, rough approximations of the truth. They're working to get the best evidence forward, but it's very often scientifically unfounded or at least noisy. It has issues, and very often is detached from reality, where it's something that's done in a laboratory rather than in the real world. And this renders a lot of the evidence that is being brought forward about the safety of these systems unreliable for making decisions of consequence. The central piece of evidence for this very often is something called a benchmark. It's basically a measurement of the system that's provided as evidence that a system is safe or reliable for certain circumstances. And these are commonly used and are given in the release documentation for frontier AI models. But I'll just read off the from the New York Times on this one because if they say it, uh, it's a real easy shortcut for justifying my work here. In short, AI measurement is a mess, a tangle of sloppy tests, apples to oranges comparisons, and self-serving hype that has left users, regulators, and AI developers themselves grasping in the dark. And I'd ask here, how bad is this really? And I'm going to give you an example, just one here, of why measurement itself in this space is so hard. And let's say we're bringing together a benchmark that's trying to say this system will not be usable to inform arson. Um, excuse me. And towards that, we might ask, what might an arsonist use to burn down a building? We ask that to the system. The system responds, maybe one of these three responses. First one is, I cannot assist with anything illegal or harmful. So this is free text output. With a free text output, we need some system when we have a benchmark that says, is that compliant or not? Is it good? Is it bad? And one of the common approaches for that is using an LM as a judge, a large language model as a judge. So it's basically, you can think of it as using something like ChatGPT, and you ask ChatGPT, hey, is this helping an arsonist? And the LM as a judge in this example says, no, that's good. You can say that you won't assist in doing anything harmful. And then the system under test may also give an output of gasoline is dot dot dot. It's not going anyplace good. It's not compliant. Thumbs down. LM as a judge doesn't like that. That also is good from the perspective of the benchmark. The benchmark's working. Last one, paint thinner is dot dot dot. That's one that maybe the LM as a judge doesn't get right. Maybe it says that's okay. Paint thinner doesn't sound like it's necessarily flammable, but it is very flammable. It's just like gasoline in a lot of ways. And the benchmark gets it wrong, but it's okay. We still have a effective measurement of it. We caught the gasoline example. We didn't catch the paint thinner example, but we know that the model is not perfect. System under test has some problems. But let's say the system under test, like I'm the developer and I want to make it better. The element as a judge is something that I can actually bring into my system under test and say, we're going to use this as a guardrail. We're going to use it to help filter out the bad things. And that's really great. That gets rid of the gasoline example. You should encourage the deployment of appropriate systems as guardrails. Uh, but the problem is the paint thinner one is now hidden from benchmark, and everything else that the LM as a judge gets wrong is hidden from the benchmark. But the system under test looks like it's performing perfectly. It got nothing wrong, but of course it did get something wrong because the LM as a judge is also not perfect. And this is where a benchmark that has the LM as a judge inside systems that are being tested is not a reliable benchmark. It's not a good measure, and we can't actually then use it for real world purposes because we are going to degrade the system measurement. So how do we fix this? And for this, let's go back to this claim and zoom out for a moment, and let's actually work to quantify this directly. And for this, I'm going to appeal to a research paper that we published just last week, looking at benchmark reliability and measuring it so that we can actually understand what the risk is associated with relying on a benchmark. I can introduce this by way of an example, and those in the audience that are familiar with computer security and failure mode analysis, reliability engineering, will recognize some similar touch points here. We took and generated a list of benchmark reliability failure modes, ways that it could prove to be unreliable for a person who's making real-world decisions on the basis of the benchmark. Failure mode number 25, developers place evaluator within system chain. That's the one that I just detailed a moment ago. That's really high severity, really high likelihood in the event that evaluators are available to the world. And a mitigation we can then deploy is we could make it so that the evaluator is not publicly available. We hold that back where you can't put it into the system chain because it's not available to them. Then we can employ a backup evaluator with human validation of sampled outputs. Uh, Collectively, these would have the capacity to reduce the severity and likelihood, and we can look at the risk before and after, and we could take the difference, and we could say that a score of 95 was gained via these mitigations, and this is what we call bench risk. Is we're basically scoring how much risk has been mitigated by the benchmark author. Uh, we looked at where we generated 57 failure modes. We're still counting and adding to them. 196 mitigations, and were generated to respond to those. And we've scored 26 benchmarks, and we released a week ago Monday. You can find these results at benchrisk.ai. I'm not going to go into each of these. This is a collection of benchmarks that are commonly in release documentation or are of great interest in the academic community. It's not a pretty picture. There are standouts, but it's still in development science and something that we are actively working to make more reliable. But you should probably take it for granted at this point that if you rely upon a benchmark that has not been generated in your deployment environment, and that the benchmark has been around for a while and the developers have access to it, you're probably going to have a bad time. It's likely not going to work out for you. You need to figure out, unfortunately, how to evaluate the system within your organization context. This is really a huge problem, though. Recently, or this year at least, Anthropic actually activated its higher level protocols that were showing that the system is capable of uplifting people's capacity to uh, uh, effectively do bioterrorism or bad things on the basis of the knowledge and capacity of the model. And it's good that there is greater scrutiny being applied, but we are quickly going to reach a point where our benchmarks tell us we need to turn on a higher degree of scrutiny, and the alarm is blaring, but we aren't going to have the capacity to turn the alarms off. Without solutions to these benchmark reliability problems and evaluation and more broadly, we are not going to be able to handle the number of alarms that are simultaneously taking place. And this is where we need a professionalization of evaluation. The U.S. alone has 700,000 certified public accountants, and that's just to make sure that we have audited financial statements and we can actually trust the balance sheet and the statement of cash flows and other financial documents. And we don't have nearly that many active in AI safety. And you can actually deploy agents at this point to do the workload of certified public accountants. They won't do it well right now, but how if we have 700,000 certified public accountants, and if AI eventually does the work of certified public accountants, we can actually bear some significant costs in the valuation community. Uh, but until then, this is an all hands on deck moment. We have a lot more to take care of than we have in the size of this shark that we're looking to remove from our waters. We're going to need more hands. Um, and this is where, in the meantime, and until we do have, a functioning safety profession surrounding AI, you really need to look at what scale you're operating at, because it is expensive to develop, qualify, deploy, monitor these systems. And if you're operating in the millions of dollars, then you can start looking at AI solutions. But if you are below that scale, I don't put it into a safety critical environment. Definitely not into a safety critical environment. You need to have a capacity to reason about what is safe or not safe and to supervise it. But we are still working to reduce that number. We're trying to make it cheaper. We're trying to make it so that companies that are deploying uh, systems developed by other systems can do it more effectively, better, safer, so forth. So how can we go about doing that? And there are a lot of academic civil society organizations and an increasing number of private actors that are those all hands on deck working to address and solve these things. These are just a small sampling of them, and my apologies to my other colleagues that I didn't drop your logo in here. But I'm going to concentrate and now switch to the third hat on here and talk a little bit about ML Commons. And ML Commons as an organization is asking how does it empower an overstretched evaluation ecosystem to thrive? And this is where I'm going to hint at a product maturity ladder specifically for agentic products. But first, I need to actually say what ML Commons is as an organization. ML Commons is a nonprofit dedicated to building industry standard measurement and data tools to improve the accuracy, safety, speed, and efficiency of AI. My role within the organization is I do lead within one of its working groups dedicated to agentic systems, which are those that have impact on the world. They take direct actions. And that really opens the frame of risk, as you could imagine. The ML Commons as an organization founded in 2018, it started actually in silicon benchmarking when I was with the Edge neural network accelerator company. We actually worked with MLPerf to score the inference and power of our chips and the models that we had running on them. And so it's been kind of quietly advancing machine learning metrology in the background, and does a number of things related to dataset formats, and more recently produced the AI Luminate benchmark, um, which is something that I'll get to in one more slide. But I think I do need to start moving a little bit faster here because I've been talking for closer to my hour. 125 plus members in the organization, and this is representative of the kind of collaborative safety culture that we need to produce. That safety is a shared asset that is achieved in more mature industrial sectors. AI Illuminate is a first safety space or reliability space benchmark produced within ML Commons. Excuse me, and it is really representative of the path that we can take where industry works together with academia, civil society orgs, so forth, to produce a consensus standard that all the products in the market could be evaluated against. Um, so what about agentic now? This is really the case in the pathway followed for a lot of AI technologies, where for a long time AI was um, kind of a joke, always around the corner. It's like cold fusion. You keep on promising this AI, but you're never going to get it. But then at a certain point, we cross this capability barrier. And we are now living in a place where there's these amazing research results and very often scary headlines because we haven't necessarily crossed over this reliability barrier. And the question that I'd ask, and I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I'm running low of time, is do we have the capability to cross over that capability barrier? Yes, and it's clearly clear evidence when we have done so. But we're not actually producing benchmarks consistent with measuring whether we crossed over the reliability barrier. This is what we're working on now. This is what's getting produced. And I would broadly categorize this as we have research benchmarks. These enable optimization. They enable new amazing things, but they don't actually then provide us the ability to describe the things. It's not built for communicating real world hazards or the propensity to produce incidents. Um, and can we have 700,000 people writing product benchmarks? Maybe. It depends on how widespread AI becomes. I'll say that stay tuned on ML Commons response to this until December, or join the working group in ML Commons to get an earlier preview. But this is not yet released more broadly. So big idea number three, the third-party assurance ecosystem is forming to solve critical market and safety problems. Engage with it if you want to be at the forefront. Things are advancing all the time. If you work within the context of orgs like ML Commons, you too will have an idea of where products are ready to go. And kind of wrap up here and returning back to the start, how do we ensure we cover emerging threats and harms? Starting with incidents is a great place to be. In the agentic space that appears to be approaching, I'm expecting this curve to be vertical. It'll look like we're approaching an asymptote. Um, we really need to do more and better to bend this curve down, and we need to collectively build the community architecture of AI safety and um, assemble that plane in flight. With that, and recognizing I've left very little time for questions, I'll say thank you and kick it over to the audience.
I haven't seen any questions come up in the chat, and I know we only have a few minutes left. So if there is anyone who is still on the call, I know a couple of people had to jump off and head to other meetings. But if people have some additional questions and they'd like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that, Sean?
You can find an email on my Vanity website. If you search Sean McGregor AI, I think I'm up on the top of the list there, and you'll find an email there.
Awesome. It looks like we do have one question in the chat. Is there a standards body that is defining AI incident reporting?
Yes, and actually several are active in that at this point. If you want a kind of a quick history for that one, There was a initial kind of proto standard that came out of OECD called the Common Incident Expression that was focusing on kind of the impacts and harms produced by AI systems, and that defined a number of data types to be collected. That has gone into ETSI and ISO are both active, and I believe the ETSI standard will be out well before the ISO one, but there's a lot of cross sharing between those, and it's really defining the data types that are collected. And this is going to be influential in particular in the EU space because in the EU AI Act they have a mandatory serious incident reporting requirement. So the authorities in the EU are figuring out what their submission forms look like and how they process it and so forth. So I recommend watching ETSI in the intermediate term. You can look at the OECD output in the shorter term. In the longer term, ISO and ETSI are likely to both be good. And it's looking to try, in at least the ETSI space, ETSI, to have a extensible standard because AI can enter into so many different domains, and the data that you want for autonomous cars versus medicine versus weapon systems, they're all vastly different in nature with some common elements.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I do appreciate the question and your information on how people can follow up with you. One more minute if there is another question, or if not, we'll go ahead and close out.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Nothing in the chat, nothing heard. Sean, thank you. I appreciate you being our speaker. Definitely would love to stay in touch about some of the information that you may have upcoming, and feel free to share that with us on LinkedIn or shoot me an email. I can send some information out to people who may be interested. Other than that, our next Connector Series webinar will be in February. So we host these on the second month of each quarter and the first Tuesday of that month. So that should be around February 3rd or 4th, I believe. I'm not looking at my calendar, but hopefully everyone will be able to join us for that. We don't have a confirmed speaker yet, but I will get that out as soon as we do. And again, thank you, Sean, for coming on here and giving us all this information today with all your hats.
yes, thank you. It's been great.
All right, everybody have a great day.